Hey everyone, I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. I personally spent my Christmas morning attending a Christmas Mass, a Mass commemorating the Incarnation, for the first time because believe it or not, I had never gone to one before. Maybe I had when I was very young, but because I don't remember it and because this is the first time I've been to a Christmas Mass where I actually took Catholicism seriously and understood it, I'm going to count this as my first. So, anyway, if you guys don't celebrate the Christian elements of it, then I still hope you had a good day. I hope you had a nice time with the family and such. But I do think that you should call it something else though, because the word Christmas literally has the name Christ in it. But I mean, that's a different point. What I'm here to talk about today is an interesting fact that the priest gave to us in the homily, which is what we Catholics call essentially the sermon, that supports the doctrine of transubstantiation. And if you don't know what that is, you guys can read this article on screen. I'm not going to give anything more than a basic summary of it because that's a topic of its own, and I might actually make a video on it because there are so many misunderstandings and misconceptions around the doctrine that I think would be helpful to clear up. But in the meantime, you guys can just read this article that I'm scrolling through. So, anyway, the priest gave us an interesting fact that can be used to support the doctrine, which the doctrine in question is that at communion, the full presence of Christ is actually there, substantially there. So his body, blood, soul, and divinity are in communion, and by taking communion, we sort of unite ourselves to him, which is why we don't allow people who are in mortal sin, which is another different topic, to take it because they're uniting themselves with someone that they are currently uh, very far away from. So, the fact that he gave us to support this doctrine, which I can use to develop an argument, a very interesting argument for this, is the fact that a manger, if you guys are familiar with the Christmas story, you know that the baby Jesus was placed in a manger. But what you might not know is what a manger is. I didn't know this either. So this is new to me. Credit goes to the priest for telling us this because I didn't know. So a manger is a structure where food for animals is placed. So there's this accidental, coincidental sort of association, although I don't believe it was accidental or coincidental, but there's this association with the baby Jesus, Jesus himself, and some kind of food, which is very interesting because if we go to John 6, which I'll just go ahead and open for you guys. Hold on. John 6. Here we go. So we go all the way down, all the way. Okay. So here in starting from I believe John 6:54 and just continue to go down, okay? John 6:54, Christ himself is telling people that unless they eat his flesh and drink his blood, they do not have life in them. And if you continue to read, you can see that there were disciples who abandoned him because they did not necessarily understand what he was trying to convey. And instead of telling them, hey, you guys are misunderstanding me, that's not what I meant. I meant it in a symbolic way, which is what the Protestants would say, a lot of them anyway, would say that it's a symbolic figure of speech, which isn't too far out of reach because Jesus does use symbolic figure of speech all the time. But the problem with that argument here is that instead of correcting these people and telling them that it's symbolic or that they're misunderstanding him, what he does is ask people if they're going to continue to leave and not bother to correct it. So what he's doing here is he's telling people, hey, you got to eat my flesh and drink my blood or else you don't have life in you. And then people are like, wait, whoa, what? And then they leave. And then instead of correcting them, he's like, are you guys going to leave too? And then there you go. That's a typical argument that you can use to support the doctrine of transubstantiation, which is like the pop Catholic answer sort of apologetic argument. But the thing is is that this association with food, the fact that Jesus, as a baby, even from the very beginning of his life, was associated in some kind of way with food. He was placed in a structure, in a trough where animals feed from, can be used to sort of give foreshadowing and support this doctrine and start an argument from it. So the argument, very, very simply, is this that I'm going to lay out. This is my case, okay? Not hard to understand. So, first premise, there is an association with food in the beginning of Christ's life as a baby. And that can be supported with the manger fact that you can see here. It is true. 2, later on in life, when Jesus grows up, he tells his disciples that they need to eat his flesh and drink his blood, therefore associating himself with food again. 3, Christ does not correct these people who allegedly misunderstand him when they are, leaving and he's losing a lot of followers. He does not say, hey, you guys are wrong. You guys misunderstood. Based on these 3 things, I do not think that you can come to any other conclusion other than when Christ said this, he's being literal. Now, there's a lot to unpack on what that means. What does it mean to consume his flesh? What does it mean to do this at communion and things like that? And that's what the article is for here. And that's what you guys can read, and that's what I can explain later. But I think that this argument is very interesting because from the fact alone of the manger thing, I don't think that you can come to that conclusion, but just based on the fact that Christ is being associated with food multiple times, I think that it's pretty easy to come to the conclusion that transubstantiation is true. And this manger fact only serves as a very easy thing to use as a supporting fact to sort of advance the argument along. So let me know what you guys think about that. This is me doing amateur Catholic answers, okay? These guys are doing it way better than me, but I hope that's helping you guys. And if you guys would like some clarity on that doctrine, because it can be confusing and people misunderstand things like that. They call us cannibals and such, which is pretty stupid once you realize what it actually means. But hey, if you guys want to see that, you can let me know. I will see you guys in the next one. If you want more content like this, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. God bless. See you later.